Hello, I'm Vince White. I'm an employment attorney on this channel. Generally, we answer publicly posted questions from YouTube users, getting folks the answers they need from an employment attorney, but not today. Today, we have a co host who is.
Oh, hi everyone. I'm Ariella or Ari Steinhorn, and I'm a writer, a freelance journalist, and a story midwife, as described by the New York Times. I help people get very sensitive stories out there into the public through a variety of legacy media, social media, figure out what people's stories are and match them to the culture while keeping them grounded in truth. So, yeah, excited to talk about current events today.
Excited to have you here. Do you still take story placement work?
I do, yes.
Oh, amazing. We
Yeah.
will be talking. All right. So, we want to begin with the industry leading, very highly reported reverse discrimination Supreme Court nonsense.
Hmm. Yes. So, on Wednesday, the Supreme Court heard arguments over a discrimination case, a suit filed by a straight woman who lost positions to gay workers. And um, yeah, obviously the court skews conservative right now. And it seems like, according to the reporting, they're likely to issue a decision in favor of the woman. But yeah, Vince, what are your thoughts on this? How will this change? Do you think we talked about this last week, but do you think we'll start to see more reverse? Just I know you just think they're discrimination cases, but reverse discrimination cases, and that people are being who are really qualified not being looked at.
So this was always the law of the land. You could never say like, oh, you straights, you effing breeders, I don't like you, and like not hire them. That was always illegal. The issue, and it's not being reported super well, some of the outlets are. The
Hmm.
issue is that those cases had a heightened scrutiny, a higher burden of evidence historically. And I gotta say, notably, you do have a couple, it seems, a couple of the liberal justices looking to join in this decision.
I saw that.
I'll be frank, it just, and this doesn't, I don't love this for my worldview, right? Like, we don't really need laws to protect straights or whites or, listen, that much. But fundamentally, why would there be a higher evidentiary standard if you're of the heterosexual protected class? Why would there be
Mm.
a higher evidentiary standard if you're a Caucasian male? Like, it's just the standard is the standard, right?
That
Like,
makes yeah, that makes me wonder, do you think because protected classes, right, are people who have historically been discriminated against. Do you think that we'll still have the protected classes, but we'll just have classes that are discriminated against, and we'll start to see more cases brought around like because white people aren't protected classes. You know, I guess a gay person in a lot of states is considered a protected class. So I'm wondering
yes,
if it will change that, like in your line of work, it's not just going to be the protected classes, which is what it's historically been, but it's going to be like classes and like tribes, and like this tribe is being selected over this tribe, you know?
yeah. So for years, we've brought claims for men, white
Yeah.
people, straight people. They're not our favorite claims to bring. It's not that we don't want to help those people, right? If somebody walks into a crowded room and is like, Vince, I hate your effing Caucasian caucasity. I hope you effing die. Is that an exciting case for me? No. Is it a case? Is it going to make money? Yeah, the case law has always been kind of clear. This is not that new. It's not. It's just a different evidentiary burden.
Right.
And I do think, to your point, like the protected classes were originally historically marginalized, historically attacked. Now it's more just like, hey, you're a demographic, and we kind of decided like we should be judging you not on the basis of like your skin color or your sexual identity or whatever it is, right? I guess I shouldn't mix your sexual orientation or your gender identity. Think, like all the
Mm.
various protected classes. Um, I do think that approach has merit. Like, I'm not gonna, the forbidden word right now is meritocracy,
Right.
which is hard because that was kind of the soul of the law for many years. Like you can't hire someone because they're white. You got to hire the best person for the job.
Mm-hmm.
So too, can you not hire someone because they're African American, right? That's not the sole reason that you have to say, hey, this person's really good for the job,
But I wonder
right?
if it's also, I feel like nepotism also plays a role in this, where like if you are, let's say, I know that this was like misinformation, but or disinformation. Elon Musk being like, the lesbian firefighters hired other lesbians, and that was like very skewed, and he was trying to incite people. But that said, there can be situations where you're a white woman and your best friend is a white woman and you hire her, or you're a gay black man and your best friend is a gay black man and you hire him. So it's like, I think sometimes a nepotistic thing, because we can be tribal and want to be around people who are more like us at times, and that to me I think is like the problem. It's not even like, it's sort of rooting out this idea that other people are not considered because the person who's hiring or the person who's promoting like just happens to like someone better because they have more in common, because they themselves are more similar.
And that's such a complex and subtle distinction. So most nepotism in the United States is legal. About
Yeah,
95% of job sites, you can prefer to hire your family. You can prefer to hire your buddy. You can't prefer to hire your buddy because he is also white, right? Like
right.
that's one step too far. No longer nepotism. Now we're talking discrimination.
Totally. And I guess people can argue like, oh, well, consciously I'm not arguing or hiring my buddy because he's white. But then it's like this subconscious thing where it's, if like you're just very clinically looking at the qualifications of a person, it's very different. But at the end of the day, we are human beings with emotions and like, desires. And so we can be like, oh, I just like this person better, so I'm going to want to hire them.
Yeah. And that's real. Imply, implicit bias is how
Yeah.
we got here. And listen, there's so many guys. Like I can't even, the classic example is there's so many guys that I know who are like, oh, I just hate hiring attractive women. I'm like,
Right.
and it's because it makes them uncomfortable. And it's a lot of them don't even think they're gonna like do something bad. They're just like, I just feel uncomfortable. I just don't want to work with them. And it's like,
Right.
like you can't do that,
Right.
man. Like, I don't know.
Yeah,
It's
it's
sad.
true. No, it's like they have the power, and then whoever gets the job has the power, because so it's like they just, whatever group is in the power in the position of hiring or firing, it's just then like bringing more economic empowerment to whichever group they decide to bring in or hire.
Yeah. And I mean, it's quasi innocent. They just don't want to sweat a
Yeah.
lot in their meetings. They don't want to like wonder where to look. Right. And it's just like, it's such a low bar. It's so little to worry about. Like, just you got to get past it. But it's an issue and that exists.
How do we change that? I feel like there should be training for that as opposed to sexual harassment. It's like, what is the thing that it makes it impossible? Because I've worked with tons of amazing men who I can easily make eye contact with. And then I've worked with others who literally, I was at one job like years ago, and he was like, he told someone he didn't want to make eye contact with me. And I'm like, well, where is the training for this person? But then again, he's the founder and the person who brought in the money, so he doesn't have to do the training, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, but he does have to give you equal access. He
Yeah,
can't isolate you because of your protected
right.
class, and refusing to interact with you is that you're then losing the path to communication to power, which is significant. That's a huge detriment to your career, your prospects, everything else. And it snowballs over time. So it's
Mhm.
easy to say, oh, he just didn't want to, he doesn't want to be one-on-one. A ton of guys will say, I don't have closed door meetings with my female subordinates. Okay. Do you have closed door meetings with your male subordinates? Because closed door meetings, nobody likes them, but stuff can get done. A lot can get said. Like it's now a disadvantage for your female subordinates. This is a problem. I don't know. In my youth, I was so uncomfortable just interacting with like beautiful women. And I don't know how you would have gone back and socialized me as a child. Like
Yeah. But now
it's
you're socialized. Like you
I have a
work.
veneer of fake social skills that I like put over what?
That's fair, but like that also is you putting in the work, even if it is a veneer, to be able to like treat people and like talk to people in a way that's human to human.
Yeah. I think time and attention and just also the industry a little bit. A lot of my clients, a lot of my clients tend to be very beautiful women who have been horribly sexually harassed. And they very much want to perceive me as asexual or gay. And they
Mm,
will often just assume that. And I just was like, I'm good with this. This is helping, so
right.
if it's helping, let's do it. And yeah, fine with me if it's fine with them. I'm not lying to them. I don't say I'm gay or asexual, but there's
Yeah.
definitely comments made
Yeah.
with the assumptions there. And I'm just like, interesting.
Right, right. I just think that that's so much better than the people who double down on, well, I'm not going to change any part of myself to work with. It could be a beautiful woman, it could be an older woman, it could be an older man, it could be a black person, it could be,
Yep.
it's like I think people just feel uncomfortable and they want to go into work and be productive, and the discomfort to them is so they're like, I just want to avoid that feeling and therefore I'm going to hire my friend.
I was having this conversation like 3 days ago with a young attorney who was like, he said something to me. He was like, I just don't know if that's who I am.
Mm.
And I was kind of like, yeah, but have you noticed nobody wants to buy who you are? Like it's not currently valuable. Like I used to joke when I was a young attorney, I'm looking to sell my soul, but nobody's buying. And then like in retrospect, like there was a certain amount of erasure of self that had to go on because who I
Mm.
was not that useful. Right.
Mhm.
And then all of a sudden firms were like, now we're talking. Now you're actually a tool that we can use to help our clients. And then I could have my own firm after that. But like, I think the concept for this kid of being like, the person you are today
Mhm.
might be good at making you happy, but is it good at making anyone else happy? Can we
Right.
be a different way for 8 to 10 hours a day where you can help others? And
Right.
that concept, I think, was a little alien to this human being, which I think he was very much like, you must be true to yourself. And I was like,
Yeah.
sure. But
And there are many facets to the self, and I think in any work situation, you have to, unless you're just like a performance artist or like a pure artist, you have to like compartmentalize and like act in ways that aren't totally your full self just to be able to like play the game a little bit, to interact in this game that we all have subscribed to. So like in a way I get it, because that can, when that's taken to such an extreme, it can be like you're like lobotomized, and it's like that Apple show Severance where you have two
yeah,
different brains and you have no
yep,
merging of the selves. But then if you're just your full self, it's just hard to work with people, because you have to, there has to be some compromise when other
yeah.
people's selves are involved.
Should I watch Severance?
You should. I think you
Okay,
should.
I will. I'm gonna
Yeah.
check it out.
Yeah, apparently the second season is really good. I'm still on the first season. It's not the most aesthetically interesting show because so much of it
Okay.
takes place in a really corporate cubicle type environment. But it's really interesting as a premise, and the acting is phenomenal.
It the like petty cubicle drama isn't petty to me anymore because
Yeah,
I've seen how it always ends up in like violence, sexual assault, hate crime. Like it's all petty until it's not. Like there's not a lot of set. There's not. It's a very thin line
yeah,
between like this is corporate silly drama and whoa, that escalated quickly. Like
yeah, yeah. So true.
all right, what do we have next?
Okay, so we have the Center for American Progress, which is a very left-leaning think tank, but they put out this report that 36 million workers are now newly vulnerable to discrimination and harassment because the Trump administration is degrading longstanding programs like the Office of Federal Contract Compliance programs. Uh, they say enforcement is a crucial part of contracting. Do you have experience with this OFCCP,
I do
the
not.
federal contracting?
I have
Okay,
never once seen them show up in a case in my
interesting.
16 years of practice. I've
Okay.
never heard their name. I've never spoken to someone from their agency. I've spoken with people from the FBI, even the CIA. The FBI has made my clients disappear on more than one occasion. For
What?
yeah, literally disappear. Um,
You mean disappear from you or disappear from like,
this disappear from like walking around freely in the country. Um,
geez.
I was representing many, and this is public record,
Yeah.
representing a gentleman who was a defected member of the Iranian National Guard, not National Guard, the Iranian Royal Guard, um, and had like physical disfigurements, like ritual disfigurements as part of his service in that guard and everything else. And everything was going really well. We were having an employment dispute, and there was kind of like a note from the federal government, like, stop, stop with the employment dispute. And the client opted not to. And then the client was gone, and the client's family was like, where's our person? And that went on for a couple of years.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And it's just like, there's no process. And people call you like, what do we do? And I'm like, I'm not that kind of attorney. I don't know. And I like scheduled appointments with people and stuff like that, like immigration, criminal. And it was
Yeah.
just like, well, the criminal attorneys can't do anything because there's no charge. There's no court. There's no process, right? The immigration attorneys are like, he's in a special status. There's no recourse. And it's just, okay,
Totally. That's super
no,
scary when there's no due process. When there's a woman who I interviewed the other week, um, whose husband was investigated by the FBI. They ended up dropping everything, but they just seized all of their bank accounts through civil forfeiture. And there's nothing she can do. The government sometimes can just come in and there's nothing that anyone, I guess, can do. And the military also has a separate justice system, as
yeah,
I'm learning with another client who I'm working with who's a military spouse. And she reported domestic violence a number of times in civilian court. And they just deferred completely to the military court, which is accountable to nobody.
yeah. The
Yeah.
fascinating thing about the military courts, so
Yeah.
we can't, we feel we're not good enough in terms of the military courts to represent victims of sexual harassment in the military. Um, and I listen, full disclosure, I was almost an Air Force JAG. I was like in the process and everything, and then like they were just like, we're good, go ahead. Um, we got a lot of options. You're not the best. See you later, kid. Um, but
Well, you're on to greener pastures, Vince.
yeah, I mean, I was just
You're
trying to
very
find a job.
meaty. Yeah.
I didn't want to be on a base, but
Yeah.
the way that the military treats sexual assault of military members
Yeah.
is so lacking. But the way that the military treats sexual assault by non-spouses of military spouses
Mm.
is so aggressive. Like, and it's such
Mhm.
a strange thing. Like, if you're a member of the military and you're sexually assaulted, we're real iffy on how we're going to help you. It seems like it's not very good. If your spouse is on a base and you're deployed or something, and someone sexually assaults your spouse, it appears they're going to do. I mean, they're not going to kill the person, but like it seems like
Yeah.
they just delete that person from. Like, it just whoa. And I
Wow.
watched it happen. And I was like, I didn't know you could do it. I
Oh
thought you
my.
guys just didn't care about sexual assault. What's
Yeah.
the disconnect? You know?
Well, I think they care so much about the military. If it's a military member committing the sexual assault, they just want to sweep that under the rug. But if it's, yeah, you're right. If it's like a woman or man who is in the military and some random person assaults them, then like they prioritize, they want to see their investment in those military members pan out, right? Like they don't want to waste one person who's gone through training.
They also, I think, are fairly confident that deployed personnel will come back and just kill the person who assaulted their spouse.
Mm,
I think that is one of the main concerns because the way things went so
interesting.
fast, so aggressive. And it was just one of those things where, and it was a service member who, in this particular case, who committed the assault. And it was so different. Had you been, I don't know, at West Point as a young woman and been sexually assaulted, very lackluster response, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But had you been a spouse of someone on a base and the same bad actor sexually assaulted you,
Yeah.
full on, wild.
So crazy. Yeah, that's why I'm interested. So one of the stories I've been working on, these people are not currently on military bases, but I'm working with a client who used to run all information security for va.gov. So all the veterans benefits and the veterans access to their healthcare systems, and also all of the data like veterans therapy notes, veterans prescriptions, and stuff that should be protected by HIPAA or patient doctor confidentiality now is in the hands of Doge and like this guy Big Balls at Doge. And and so, but to me, that's really crazy because this guy who definitely he leans left, he spoke up about Elon Musk, but he was like, even if I didn't lean left, like people could be blackmailed, like veterans could be blackmailed, um, information could be sold on the dark web. It's not good. So I'm surprised. I don't know. I think that they're claiming that all the Doge engineers are the smartest engineers that exist and will keep the information safe, but we'll see. Because I do think that when with the military and with veterans, things are treated with a different level of care, usually with the government. But this government's a whole different beast, so I don't know.
Just real quick context. If anyone's not aware, Mr. Big Balls is actually the handle of an individual working for the Doge agency. We're not just throwing out the term big balls for
We don't
fun.
actually know if he has big balls. This is what he
I
goes
also
by.
don't understand the male obsession with big balls. To me, that seems like it would be a disability. Like it would really hold you back from a variety of things. Like it's like how big are we talking? Like sorry. Anyway, it seems like it'd be very uncomfortable.
Yeah, it seems like they would be an impediment. Maybe it's like the
Tremendously
idea
so.
is that they have like super sperm or something, and like I don't know. I
Do we
don't
want
understand.
super? Never mind. Anyways,
Elon Musk apparently does. He's just like shipping his sperm around. Anyway,
yeah.
okay, so yeah, with these federal I guess there are people who worked for their private contractors who work for who work on federal government projects and are seeing discrimination. And this was some sort of program that protected them, and now it's being gutted. Um, that's apparently what's happening. But yeah, that's interesting. I had never heard of it either.
I believe it. I mean, I believe it, but listen, how much enforcement do they actually do? That's always my question, right? We always talk about the EEOC, 80,000 cases filed in 2023, 56 litigations initiated,
Yeah, that's always the
you
question
know,
with government agencies if they're able to take on the
and
cases.
what was the cost? What was the
Right.
cost of that 56 litigations? How many billions do we pay to help, to theoretically maybe help 56 people?
Yeah.
You know, tough stuff.
Yeah.